Hello everybody, my name's James. Welcome to the Planet FPL Gameweek 12 Deadline stream, and it's live. And over the next 54 minutes or so, I'm going to try and answer as many of your FPL dilemmas as possible. I can see the man Sudges in the chat. Don't know what that's all about. Hi boss, hope you're well. Everything's good. Yes, change of scenery. If you can hear a child, yes, I'm also looking after my son while doing this stream. It is about 54 minutes till deadline. You can see my team as it stands on screen. I say as it stands, it's what it's going to be. Dalberto Carlos is in for Reece James. I feel like I explained enough from this morning and made the decision on Mitrovic. Don't think I can justify selling him for -4. Don't think I can justify benching him when he might start. So he's sitting in there because I'd still like to have him for game week 12 if he is available. Below that, you'll see my top 10 captaincy picks for the game week. Erling Haaland is preferred, yes, over Kane and Son. Yes, if I owned Kane or Son, I would still captain Haaland. I don't care if it's boring. If you don't like the reasoning, well, look to the left. There's my correct score predictions for the weekend, and I think City could go big at Anfield, actually. Right at the bottom of the screen on the grey ticker, you will see the FDR as shown by FPL's website for the next 5 Premier League fixtures, which takes us up to game week 15. And below that, or above that, and right directly below me, you'll see the benching dilemma screen, which I will take you through right now. The player with the tick is the preferred option to start out of the 2 choices, and they run in order of pages 1 through to 5. Page 1, I would not be benching João Cancelo in any football match. I'd pick him over Wilson, which has come up as Harry Wilson. That's really fucking handy, isn't it? It's obviously meant to be Callum Wilson. Wilson over Cucurella. Cucurella over Solanke. Solanke over Trippier. There always has to be something wrong, doesn't there? Trippier over Saliba. Saliba over Sinistera. Sinistera over Almiron. Almiron over Justin. Justin over Dunk. Dunk over Pereira. Pereira over Dallo. Dallo over Gay. Gay over Saliba. Why's the silver in there? We've got a bonus one going on here. It's all gone wrong on it. Pete Song and all that. You're not worried about them guys at the bottom anyway. And page 5 is the goalkeepers. It's fun here today, isn't it? Kepa over Pope, over Raya, over Ward, over Pickford. You're not really bothered about who you're starting to Silva or stuff, are you? Sorry. Yes, there's an error on page 4. Andreas Pereira should not be on page 4. It should say Gay over Saliba. Saliba over De Silva. I don't know why that's happened. Apologies. Right, okay. Let's get on with the show, I suppose. Let's answer some bloody questions. Let's see who is in first. It is My Toast. Hi, James. 2 free transfers. James to Doherty. Barnes to Bowen. Already have Maddison. Or just do the James to Dock and roll. Not sure why you want to have Bowen over Barnes particularly this week, to be honest. James to Dock and roll seems fairly straightforward. If you're in a position of doubt this week and you can get to the next game week with 2 free transfers, it's very much advised. That's a close call. Remember, Bowen has only scored 17% of his Premier League goals in away games, and his next 2 are away. Andrew Grunnis says, James, although Ivan Perisic has been the wettest of farts for the 6 weeks I've held him, I'm somehow considering Doherty as my Reece James replacement. Can you talk some sense into me? Oh, right. I didn't quite get the correlation with Ivan Perisic. I think you're just saying Tottenham wingbacks. I can't talk sense into you, mate, because I've done it. But it's important to say, I've done it for 2 game weeks, and I'm not bothered about afterwards. And many of you by him will be. And I think, to be totally honest with you, when Emerson Royal is back from suspension against Newcastle, he'll come back in the team. That's my honest opinion. Chris Pointer says, hi, James. His Son in, Sterling out, worth a hit. Worried about Sterling being rotated in game week 12, so we'll need to get rid then in any case. No. I think I've got Sterling in my predicted Chelsea lineup for this weekend. And I think Villa away is fine as a fixture. So for a hit, if you were going to captain Sonny, maybe. If not, I think probably a no. If you're convinced you want to get rid of Sterling and you want Son right through till game week 16, then yes, fine, crack on and do it. Because game week 12 is not going to look any better from a time period to do that hit with Tottenham having Manchester United away. Bart Spillers says, Mitrovic and Emerson out to Solanke and Gay. Let's go. Can you just go Emerson to Gay? Do you have cover on the bench? I think Andreas Pereira's great coverage this week. He might even be on the pens if Mitrovic doesn't start. Although I suspect, as I said on the stream I just did for advanced tier patrons, that if William starts, I would guess William will probably be on them. Andy Max says, hi James, got 2 free transfers. Would you replace Trent with Doherty or Webster? And would you prioritise Trossard or Darwin/Jota to replace Mitrovic with the other one? Well, what I would do is just get Dalberto Carlos, mate, and I'd leave Mitrovic for now. What are you going to do if he plays tomorrow? And I agree, by the way, I don't think he will start, based on Marco Silva's comments. But do you not still possibly want him in game week 12 as well? Now, realise going to a Nunes or Jota is probably an upgrade. I would probably go Nunes, personally. But I also think that has an element of rotation risk. And the same is also true for Jota. Ant TJ says, hi James, hope you're well. Please advise which 2 would you play out of Andreas, Aubameyang, McAllister, Saliba and Nico Williams, and who was first sub? As I'm starting Reece James. Thanks, James. There's no point in starting Reece James, but whatever makes you happy. Which 2 would a play out of them? We'll definitely play Aubameyang if you've got to, I think. From the others, probably Saliba. And I'd probably go Andreas Pereira first sub over McAllister, I think. FPL Invincible. Hi, James. Is it worth to use 2 free transfers for James Andreas to Justin Trossard or sell? Hello, mate. Look, do you want to come and say hello to people? Come here, look. Hey, look. You can sit in on this if you want. Don't press any buttons, though. That's bad. Look, let me show you so you can see yourself. Look. No one can really see you. Look, stand up a bit. Say hey. You say hello. You say hello. Or are you just going to be shy now? You got stage fright? Say hey. Hey. Yep, the life of a content creator. It's not necessarily always glamorous, to be totally honest. You're not the camera. That's the problem, mate. Don't touch the camera. Don't touch the camera. No. Have some apple, mate. Good lad. Oh, dear. I don't suppose you get this on with Raptor or Focal or Andy or Harry or any of that, do you? Right, where were we? What was the bloody question? James didn't answer my question properly. FPL Invincible. Hi, James. Is it worth to use 2 free transfers? James and Andreas Pereira to Justin Trossard or sell James to Doherty, Dunk, or James to Doherty? It's going to be so repetitive, isn't it? So repetitive. Can we just bin the Reece James questions? Because I'm gonna say Doherty, but if you need a player that's going to run you right through to game week 16, honestly, the one I would have got is probably Lewis Dunk, as long as you're covered okay for game week 13. John Bailey says, hi James, can we have your predict Conte for this week and next? Yeah, sure. My predict Conte for this week is Loris, Romero. I wouldn't be totally surprised if that's Sanchez. Dyer, I think Ben Davis tomorrow. Perisic and Doherty as the wing backs. Højbjerg, Bentancur, Richarlison, Kane, Son. For Wednesday, Loris in goal. Romero, Dyer, Longley, Doherty, Sessegnon, Bissouma, Bentancur, Højbjerg, Son and Kane. John Bailey, thank you for your question. GP says, should I take a hit to replace James or just start Gay and replace James in game week 12? I had to use my free transfer this week dealing with Diaz. I think Gay, I was debating this morning about just playing Gay instead of Reece James. I think for a hit, for a Gay, it's probably a no. It's probably a no if you don't know where you want to go. But it depends how you want to equate it. Like, do you feel the need to get the points back immediately? In which case, no. Does it fix your problems for the next 6 weeks and give you less of a headache going into game week 12? If so, take a hit for someone, mate. Right, who's next? I'm sorry, I'm going to be so distracted on this one because I've got one eye on him. Darren Petterson says, hi James, best Wolves defender for the next 2 game weeks, Kilman. I wouldn't take a chance with anyone else. Justin Dyer says, hi James, good luck this game week. Thanks for the content you guys provide. Have a nice day, and to you too. Dynamite Don says, good day James, looking to bring in Liverpool attacker, but which one? Darwin, Bobby or Jota? Preference for me would be with Nunez. Scott Dunkley says, evening, I fancy a punt on Leicester defence. Justin or Castagne? Isn't Justin like 0.1 cheaper? That one. Shahid says, hi James, I wanted to roll my transfer, so I've got 2 for game week 12. But with Reece James' injury, do I use transfer to swap to Doherty or just play Nico Williams versus a Wolves team who don't score? Thanks. Yeah, but he might not even start. I mean, he probably does start tomorrow, actually. I think he'll play Oreo at Brighton. Yeah, make the transfer, mate. Listen, I would have liked to roll this week, but the issues come up. It seems fairly clear, although not confirmed, that he's not going to play for a while, right? And they've got tough fixtures from game week 13 anyway, so it's been for me. Ross Watson says, hi James, start Gay or Justin, cheers. Preference with Justin. They're both on the bench in dilemmas, but yeah, preference with Justin, mate. Ryan Walker says, hi mate, thoughts on downgrading Pope to Kepa/Neto. Also worth keeping an eye on Matters. If booked this week, he misses game week 12. Absolutely correct. Yes, he does. If he gets booked in game week 12, he misses game week 13, which is an ideal then for me to go, yep, thank you. That's my Phil Foden entry point. That's probably the ideal. Make the decision for me so I don't have to. Thoughts on downgrading Pope to Kepa? Look, if he was on wildcard now, and I think next week, if Kepa plays the next couple, even in spite of the last 4 fixtures, I think a lot of people will go Kepa because they'll go, oh look, that's Chelsea defensive for 4.4. It's okay. As we've said on a few shows this week, I think Kepa is number 1 at the moment till Kepa makes a mistake that makes people question why he's number 1. So I think you're okay, but I do think that could change as soon as he makes a mistake, to be totally honest. Can I be honest with you? If you're in a position where you've got the luxury of moving your goalkeeper, you're in a much better position than most people this week. Colin Conn says, play Andreas or Trippier, have Cancelo, Perisic and Doherty in defence. I'd play Trips. I think there'd be goals in the game. I wouldn't expect a clean sheet. Attacking returns can be there. I would play Trips personally. Meninda says, he's transitioning from Jesus to having Saka Martinelli instead in a 3-5-2. Worth an extra transfer. Affects my transfers this week. Cheers. Gonna say no. To be honest, it's probably not, because you've got to prioritise doing Arsenal quickly, I think, because it's Southampton, Forest, Dennis, Chelsea. So you want to get it straight away, I think. Zaris says, do you think Soufal lost his place? I have 2 free transfers and I think I will change Reece James to Dunk and Soufal to Anderson. What's your opinion? My opinion is that there's a little bit of doubt around a few West Ham players, and because of that, Soufal might start this week. So my honest answer is generally I'd want to make another change and probably hold that one till midweek. That said, do you really want to look at Soufal at Liverpool in midweek? I'm probably going to have to play Emerson now because of other issues, I think. Which I've decided whether he starts or not is probably a 1-pointer, so whatever. It's a 1-pointer. It's better than a no-pointer. I don't know if anyone's going to be worth a hit for 1 week for me, is my take. It's reasonable to move it, but Soufal might outscore Anderson this week. That's all I'd say to that. Jay Barker says, evening James, need a 4.4 million defender to replace James, with which is funding Bailey to Trossard. Any ideas other than Gay? Thinking Castagna, 8 Nori, slim pickings. Yeah, it is. I'll throw you a name. This is a bit dodge. Anthony Robinson at Fulham. He's 4.4. I'm going to presume that if you wanted to start it, it's probably only this week and 12. Bournemouth at home, Villa at home's okay. If you need it a bit longer, Leeds and Everton as the following 2 isn't disastrous either. Kazar was injured, so he should be alright for minutes, certainly over the next week anyway. So I think Anthony Robinson at 4.4 is an interesting proposition, but you don't want him as a regular starter beyond this week. But he could do you well this week. He could do you well. Hollis Stammer says, hello James, reckons Alberto Carlos gets 30 points in the next 2, or he keeps it quietish with 20ish. If Matt Doherty can get me 8 points over the next 2 games, I'll be pretty pleased with that. If he can get me 12, I'll be ecstatic because it probably means 2 Tottenham clean sheets. Alistair Coper says, hey mate, need to start Ward or Gator and Gay v Justin. I saw Justin v Gay on your benching dilemmas, but wondered if it might be different when you include the keepers too. Cheers. It's interesting. I think Justin over Gay, you factor in Justin's obviously offensive potential in that. That said, I was discussing this with Suj this morning about Leicester defending set pieces, and there could be something for Gay there. On the keepers, I mean, look, reality, I wouldn't expect anything from either. I'd probably go with the home fixture. I'd probably play Ward, I think, just about. Suj is in, says, I'm cutting it iron today. I presume he means fine. Not decided what to do with Reece James. There's a shock. He's going to buy Doherty. I know he is. Berticus says, I unfortunately got Sinisterra in on Game Week 9 wildcard. Do you think he gets straight back in, mate? Yes, I've got him in my predicted Leeds team. I think Rodrigo might miss this particular fixture out. But there's no guarantee. I think it's probably a hold because Leicester away in midweek, Fulham at home the week after. If he gets back in, looks good. And again, if you've got the luxury where that's your biggest problem, you're in a better position than most right now, I would say. Zaris says, if you had both Andreas and Mitrovic, who will you start? And I have both, mate. I mean, maybe if Mitrovic is on the bench, he can come in any time. You are an FPL legend. Thanks for all. Definitely not an FPL legend. Look, my take is, and let's be realistic and honest about this. Let's say Mitrovic does come on as a sub. Let's say he comes on a sub because Fulham need a goal. What do we actually fancy him more? Mitrovic in half hour or Pereira in 90? Logically, do we think that Mitrovic outscores Pereira over the course of the season by 3? What do we put Pereira at for the season? 5, 6 goals? Do we think Mitrovic can get 15, 18? We probably do. So could Mitrovic in half hour outscore Pereira in 90 anyway? Yeah. I'm playing Mitrovic. CM Punk 2310 says, have Mings, Emerson, James and Mitrovic plus 4 Arsenal City replaced with Doherty high risk or Webster safe. I've gone with a high risk, mate. If you want to go safe, and I think Adam Webster is a very reasonable shout. Adam English says, on that Doherty train too, I'm around tomorrow for the game. Might drop you a message if you're around. Do Adam. Yeah, let's cross paths. I'll be in the East Upper, mate. 529. Joshua Tan says, hi James, hope you're well. Thinking of Romero. I already have James, Nico, Fofana issues. Lol, please help. James, well, Fofana's your biggest issue, isn't it? Reece James might return sooner than Fofana. We have no idea at the moment. So Nico Williams is the least of your problems from those 3. I'd be very tempted in that case just to be taking like a -4 and get shit fixed. Certainly going to pay back over a number of weeks. I'd just get it fixed, mate. Take a hit or 2. Romero, as I've just said, I think he'll start tomorrow. I won't be surprised if Sanchez plays. There's a lot of games coming up and he might take the chance to go Everton at home or play Sanchez. He could do that. So not for me for Romero. Gurav says, Mitro to Welbeck please for a hit. For next to a hold Mitro and play Andreas, play and start Mitrovic. I don't know if anyone's got this absolute certainty that Mitrovic is not going to start. I don't think he will, but how gutted are you going to be if he does and you've got him on the bench? And as I've just explained, I think in half hour he could outscore Pereira, to be honest. I'm not keen on Welbeck. I tell you why. Brighton's spacing of games is quite good. So they play tonight, they play Tuesday, they play Saturday. But if he decides to rotate it, there's every chance he looks at Welbeck at home to Nottingham Forest and goes, yeah, I'll leave you out for this one. Every chance, isn't there? With his history record, etc. Could he go, I'll play Undev against Forest? Could he go, I'll play Trossard more central? Of course he could. Welbeck has a history of problems. He'll certainly want Welbeck tonight. He'll certainly want Welbeck at Manchester City next Saturday. How sick would you be if you took that as a hit and then Mitrovic is back for midweek and Welbeck doesn't play Forest? I think it's a hold for me. Miena says, hey James, what do you think of the Villa defence? I think the defensive numbers are okay. They're performing like a mid-table side defensively. Am I overly keen on them getting returns with the fixtures? Chelsea at home, no. Fulham away, no. Brentford at home, maybe. Newcastle away, no. Man United at home, no. Brighton away, no. That's like 1 clean sheet in the next 6. I'm not keen. If I was to go in, I'd go Tyrone Mings as cheapest. Nicola Torco says, hi James, hope you're well. Would you ship out Mo and Trent plus Mitrovic for a -4 for Kane, Zaha, Saka and 1 game week punt Doherty? Also, which do you prefer, Zaha or Saka or someone else like Mount or Maddison? Maddison this week, but he's on the 4 yellows. So I don't think you buy Maddison at this minute. Really, he's probably a really dangerous buy. So I think from that, Zaha, as the -4 goes, I don't actually hate it. I don't hate it. It makes more sense to go Zaha over Saka now because of the blank in midweek. And if Zaha's pissed you off this week, you can always move him to Saka next weekend. Rob Picks says, hi mate, Doc versus Dunk has been tormenting me all day. Should de facto own Perisic to influence the call? No, I'm not a believer in that in terms of influence the call, but it should be said that Perisic is obviously potentially a problem for you anyway. And come game week 13, if you ask me to predict game week 13 now, I tweeted it last night, I'd think Emerson and Sessegnon will play against Newcastle. So how does that leave you? What state are you in if that's the situation in game week 13? And I think therein probably lies your answer, Rob, because if you can deal with that, and the problem is when you get there, those players will be difficult to bench. Very difficult. And if Doherty performs really well this week, there's every chance that he keeps his shirt against Newcastle, and I may have to take the risk and start him again next week. That would, to be honest, is best case scenario, right? If Doherty performs really well for Tottenham, that would be great. So I think it depends what the rest is, how many other problems you've got. Can you bear to have that Doherty and Perisic problem potentially together next weekend? FPL Mick Myers says, hi, start Mitrovic or Solanke, thank you. I think with what we know, you play Solanke. If that's the call, I think it probably is Solanke. But I don't find that an easy call. Realistic expectations on Solanke. Do I think he returns tomorrow? I own him. No, not particularly. But I think that's probably the right answer. Scored in the fixture last year. CM Punk says also thoughts on Potter, new manager bounce, have things taken a turn for the better? Little bit of both. Harry, shh. Thank you, mate. Little bit of both. Like he's a great manager. Those who've listened to me for a long time know I don't think very highly of Graham Potter. And I'm not surprised they've had an upturn. It's also worth saying, have they played anyone really in the fixtures? You can say, oh, Milan, home and away. It's also Milan with a lot of injuries at the moment, although the results were obviously impressive. Premier League-wise, what have they played so far? Anything we'd overly be fussed about? No, they've not been challenged yet, really, have they? Those fixtures are to come. So, but he's made a good start. Daniel Dimata says, Eze a good punt over Zaha? Not keen, personally. Jim Pro 100 says, Bailey to McAllister, no-brainer, right? Can't afford Trossard. Well, Bailey's back fit, mate. I don't know, is it a no-brainer? Sounds like a roll. If it's a 1 free transfer, I think that's a roll and carry on. If you've got 2 frees, fine, crack on. I think if you've only got 1 free transfer, probably leave it. You might get in a situation where Bailey's suddenly handy for you in midweek. Who knows? I think if there's that indecisiveness coming into the blank, the power is with rolling, definitely. Zaris says, please don't let us again without a deadline stream live. You gave us a heart attack. Nice to see you live again, champ. Listen, Zaris, I'd tell you very honestly, like I tell everyone very honestly, my priority is not this game. My priority from a football perspective is my football team. And there will be more deadline streams that I missed this year. Because I'm trying to go to as many Tottenham games as possible this year. So I'm sure at some point it will clash. Between now and the end of... between now and the World Cup, unless I can get hold of a ticket for Bournemouth in game week 14, which if you know any Tottenham fans who are prepared to sell, I will pay over the top for a ticket, then there will be deadline streams for all the deadlines up till the World Cup. I can say that. Nick Giordano says, afternoon James, love you loads, a little bit in a gay way. Okay, mate. Right in there with the FPL question. I can afford Mitrovic to Kane for -4. Should I do it? Gonna wild card in 13. This is interesting. So I discussed this with the advanced tiers this morning, that one of the things I was considering, but I think it's too out there, was selling De Bruyne and Mitrovic for Zaha and Kane, which would be a -8 with Doherty to go with, which would have still set me up quite nicely. Because realistically, the forward I want is Jesus, but that doesn't make any sense, right? So there's no one else at that value I'm desperate for. Like taking a hit for Wilson away to Manchester United doesn't feel right. If Mitrovic is ruled out at midweek, taking a hit from Mitrovic at home to Everton feels a little bit more. To be honest, by that point, I'd probably just go, no, my right moves to wait another week for Jesus, to be honest. But I decided not to do it. That said, if I could have afforded to go Mitrovic to Kane, one move from -4, yeah, I'd have done it. Yeah, if I was sitting there with 5 million in the bank and could go Mitrovic to Kane now for a -4, yes, I would do it. Forever QPR Sweet says, hey James, who you reckon getting the most points this game week, KDB or Son? Well, according to the captaincy metric of mine, Sonny, mate. Tom Campbell, Utley TC. How are you, my friend? Says, evening, James. Have a great weekend, pal. Thanks for the stream early this morning, too. Very welcome, TC. Good to see you in here, mate. Patrick Lawson says, have 2 free transfers. Tom, you going to the Bristol meet-up tomorrow? Enjoy yourself if you are, by the way, mate. Patrick Lawson says, have 2 free transfers. 1 to sell Trent. Would you save the other for next week? Use it to sell James or sell Mitrovic or Tony for Kane? Have enough in the bank. I'd do the lot. I'd sell Trent, I'd sell James, and just like I said for the last question, Mitrovic to Kane for a -4. Yeah, I would do it. So I'd do the lot, mate. Ben Edinson says, hi, mate. I'm so confused. I've looked at possible transfers and I could end up having close to 8 million free cash here. I'd go Foden over Salah game week 13 onwards. Yeah, but you look at it now and look, Trent, we don't know. Reece James might be back in a week. We don't know, right? His ownership will dive. It'd be a differential. Trent could be back in a week. Be a big differential. These guys might be worth punting, honestly. And because the money's there, you'll be able to get there and a lot of others won't. It's better to have too much than not enough. Static says, hi, James. Hope you and the family are well. Yes, and to you too, mate. Martin Cook says, going for differential captain, Son or Zaha? Your thoughts, thank you. I'd go Sonny, mate. Tommy Gonzo says, thoughts on tossing for the next few weeks? Yeah, I don't hate that. I mean, I mentioned, I don't want to say I recommended Anthony Robinson, but yeah, it's slim pickings at kind of 4.4 and below. I think if tossing Adebayo is affordable over Anthony Robinson, I would pay the extra just because of the security of starts. You would think. I don't see Diop coming into the team for him. So, I don't hate it. Have a glance at how you look for game week 15, 16 at the end, because arguably you don't want to play him against the 2 Manchester clubs. But if you're forced to play him in the next 4 weeks, I don't think it's terrible. So, yeah, I don't hate it. I mean, there's a case to say, a lot of people are looking for someone for 2 games. There's a case to say that from fixtures, Fulham have the best 2. Bournemouth at home and Villa at home. You couldn't ask for much better than that. If it was most other teams, like if Brighton had got Brentford away and Forest at home, there's loads of interest. If Brighton had those 2 fixtures, we wouldn't even be having a debate. We'd have all bought the Brighton player. Is that Brentford away tonight? We're not sure. I think it's reasonable though. Yeah, I do. I think it's okay. Static says Dunk or Doherty for the next 2. I can play Trippier instead of Dunk for game week 11, wildcard in game week 13. I think that's even more reason to go with a Doc, I think. Because when you hit 13, you can bin him. So, yeah, I would take the chance on the upside of the Doc. Hamad Hamid, is Aubameyang a rotation risk? Let me tell you now that every single player that plays for Chelsea is a rotation risk. Daniel Tomata says, hi, James. Best replacement for Luis Diaz. I think timing-wise, like there's loads of good ones in there, but there are downsides to all of them. So, Bowen, 2 away games. Maddison's on the 4 yellows. Saka, Martinelli have the blank. It feels like Zaha, to me, is the right answer to say for now. Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton, decent. You can hold him there as value for someone else for sort of game week 13 or so if you want. So I think right now, if it was me buying in that area, it would be Zaha now. Atul says, hello, James. What do we think of James to Chilwell this week? Good luck, much love. Not keen. Similar. Sorry, I didn't mean to miss your question, by the way, mate. Similar. Is he going to play? I don't know. I haven't got him in my predicted Chelsea team this weekend. I know most people do. I haven't. So, look, I could have made that move. Yeah, there's upside as well. If he plays, great. I ain't got a clue. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. At least I feel like I know my own team with Tottenham a bit better. And look, if I'm wrong, I've only got myself to blame. And if you will go Doherty based on my words, then fine. At me. But I don't press the buttons. You do. Play it your way. Ayub says, hi, James. Play Trips or Anderson? I'd play Trips, mate. I'm 1974. How likely Mitrovic plays game week 12? Silva wasn't that forthcoming today. We don't know. We need info. And the best info we'll have for game week 12 is the game tomorrow. Is the real truth. I just know that if I sell him and he's back even for Villa, I'm gutted. Because it's saving me 4 odd points or so. Do you need toilet, mate? Sumit says, hi James, play Webster or Gay Webster, I think, mate. SK, Doherty or Perisic on a 1 week punt, pal. Jesus. I think Doherty. And I think the reason why, I'm 95% sure Doherty starts tomorrow. I'm about 65-70% on Perisic. And I think he's close enough, therefore, that Doherty. We have to remember with Doherty is, and I think we all know this, if Doherty plays every week for Tottenham, he's not a 4.6 asset, is he? It's more like a 5.5, arguably 6. So, you know, don't worry about the price so much, because I know that can be a psychological, well, I can afford Perisic, pay for Perisic. I think for the 1 week, I can't be certain for you that Perisic plays. I'd be amazed if Doherty doesn't start tomorrow. So I think the right answer is Doherty. Chris Jargo, hi James, would you rather watch Villa all season or be stuck on a desert island with Bruno Lage? I'd rather watch football, any sort of football. Villa have got to be playing someone, right? So on a lot of games, I'll probably enjoy watching Villa's opponents, I would guess. Who's next? Sorry if I mispronounced your name, mate. Who do you prefer for a 2 week punt, mate? Zaha, Bowen or Trossard? Trossard, I think, for the 2 weeks. And the only reason I say that, one, the time frame you're putting on it, selling game week 13 is ideal because of Man City away. You know, he's a great placeholder if you want to go, say, for Foden in game week 13 or something. And I just think my instinct right now is I think captaincy is really open in game week 12 for those of us like me. And I'm not going to promise that I won't, by the way, because I might look at it after this weekend and go, actually getting Mo for Wednesday is the right choice. But I don't intend to at the moment. Captaincy is really open for those not going for Mo. So if Maddison doesn't get booked, for example, I think Zaha, I think Trossard. But I think in terms of those two, if you said now, would you rather captain Trossard against Forest or Zaha against Wolves? I'd say Trossard. So that. If you've already got Mo, then that conversation is not going to come up for you. And what do you do if you can't get rid of Trossard in 13? You'd rather have Zaha. So from that perspective, maybe the right answer is Zaha. I think for Bowen now, I'd wait till 13. The only issue with that is, in 13, you're not going to buy Jared Bowen because you're probably going to be prioritising buying Man City and Arsenal players. Therefore, it's going to go for you. So I'm very happy to leave Jared Bowen sit there for West Ham's. I've got 3 of the last 4 at home. Bournemouth, Palace, Leicester's great. So he's staying for me. It depends a lot on the makeup of the rest of what you've got, essentially. If it was me right now, just the 2 weeks, I'd go Trossard. But that might not be right for you. Ben M says, cheers. As always, bud, I've gone James to Kilman, have Emerson and Nico Williams, both on bench. Which to sell for Dunk for game week 12? I think the answer to that will probably depend on who plays right back for Nottingham Forest tomorrow. Because I think if Aurea plays, again, I think Williams will start at Brighton. And I think if Williams plays tomorrow, there's every chance Aurea will play at Brighton. So it might be dependent on the Nottingham Forest team tomorrow. JP says, FFS, my notifications are on fire the channel, but I never get it. Thoughts on Firmino after City game as an asset? I know he's doing well. I'd have Diaz and Jota ahead of him. I think Firmino, this happens every year, where he has a little run and people get excited, and it never lasts, to be totally honest. The other thing I would say on it, though, is often we say that Firmino is a waste of a Liverpool spot when you've got like Trent, Robertson, Salah, perhaps Van Dijk, perhaps a cheapy defender. Konate might even be Depending on, I'm not too sure how long Matip's out for, but if he's out for a while, Konate might even be quite interesting quite quickly, for example. Wouldn't buy him this week. Might be one I look at for midweek, though. But Firmino won't be taking up that spot at the moment, I don't think. So that adds to the appeal. Personally, if I was going for Liverpool forward at the moment, it'd be Nunes. Jahan Ahmed says, hello, James. If you were Toon Gaffer, what front six are you fielding in the cup final, assuming everyone's fit? Bruno in the 6 or the 8? I wouldn't want to restrict him in any way. That said, when he plays as a 6, he doesn't play as a conventional 6. He doesn't sit as just, I'm going to be a deep line and not go forward. Like, he still does it. He still does it. I think if everyone's fit, let's start with the front three. It's probably easier. St. Maximin, Wilson, Isak. I think he can play on the right. Joel Linton and Gomera's got to be in there. I think for the way Newcastle play, John Joe Shelvey at 6 at the moment. Stephen Moore says, hi James, 1 to start from Andreas, Bailey and Diaz. Start the Man City defender, mate. Cole JB says, evening James, good luck with the doc, all the best, and to you too, Cole. Ryan MC, why trips over Gay? Why not? I predicted 2-2 in both games. Which one do you want for potential attacking returns? That's it. If you think Gay is good for a clean sheet and you don't think Trips has got a chance of anything at Manchester United, pick Gay, mate. I don't think it's an obvious one, but I'm predicting similar scores for the two teams, and Trips has got the attacking potential. Ben Edinson says, completely irrelevant question, but just curious thoughts behind Saka ahead of Martinelli on your captain picks. No, it's good and fair question. It's a little bit based on how Christensen played Zaha last week, actually. I thought he did quite well against him. There's a little bit in that. And I know Pascal Struijk's doing really well at the moment, but it's not natural left back. And I don't think he's had too many left footers come and attack him this season and really test him as yet. So that's it. But you could toss a coin. Gaytam DeWester says, hi James, I have James and Sessignon. Should I go for Gay and Webster or Lamb, thinking James to Tony and Pereira to Trossard? What the fuck, mate? I have James and Sessignon. Should I go for Gay and Webster or Lamb? Thinking James to Tony. I can't bother with it, mate. Please just buy Gay and Webster. Sorry, good luck. GP says start Marsh over Wilson. Marsh? Oh, Marsh. Solly Marsh. Solly Marsh over Wilson. I assume that's a no. But fancy Brighton to score a few tonight. I'm not sure Wilson will score at United. I think Callum Wilson's one of them where team can get beat 5-1 and he can get the score. You okay, mate? You okay? You want some more water? You want water? Okay, hang on. You can have some of mine. This isn't going to work. Oh, shit. Here, Harry. Water. What do you say? What do you say? Listen, there's 400 people about to smash a like if you can say thank you.
Thank you.
Good boy, thank you. Take your water then. No, I play Wilson, mate. We're about 15 minutes from deadline, by the way, guys. I had to double check myself that the deadline hadn't gone in. About 15 minutes. Lewis Conley says, hi, James. Am I missing something with Andres? Seems a lot of people benching him. Brilliant fixture and on set pieces. Yeah, they've had other good fixtures on set pieces. There haven't been massive returns. I'm benching him. There's every chance he's coming in for Mitrovic, isn't he? So, by the way, if you just heard my son say thank you and you haven't smashed a like, I mean, come on, guys. If you want to play Pereira, it's fine. Like, absolutely fine with anyone playing Pereira this week. Absolutely fine. I wouldn't tell anyone don't start him. Jay Barker says, thanks, James. Good luck. FPL Marsh says, would you consider moving KDB out now for a hit to help in advance with 12? If so, who to can get anyone? But it's got to facilitate something else. So one I said obviously I was considering was De Bruyne to Zaha enables Mitrovic to Kane, for example. I think it's got to be probably something like that. Like, would I worry, I've got De Bruyne at Liverpool? No, I'd leave it be, mate. I'd leave it be. Like, Son is the only person in the game that I fancy as a midfielder to outscore him this week. So, if you want to go De Bruyne Sonny, all right, fine. That helps with 12. Otherwise, wouldn't bother, mate. Spirit Blue, Sean Norton, my Everton correspondent, says, evening, boss. Is your Doherty move short term? Is it not just bringing in another rotation problem? I'm thinking Dyer for reliability start. If you want the reliability starts, go with Eric. If you can afford Eric and you want reliability starts, Eric Dyer will start every single game that he is fit. Done. No problem. You don't have to worry about that at all. The answer is, Sean, yes, it's short term. And I'm not worried about it. And there's every chance it's getting moved on. I'm going to have some money in the bank quite shortly, I think. And that could easily, Doherty could easily become a Trent, a Robertson, a Chilwell. Could become anything. Could become another big Man City defender even. If I move De Bruyne and something happens and I can't get Foden, for example. So, yeah, it's very short term. I know that in Trippier, Gahey, Cancelo as worst case scenario, that could carry me to the end with Palace's fixtures. The only one I wouldn't be too happy about playing Gahey at West Ham in game week 15. You've had to play him in every other game, I'm not that bothered. So I also have a sneaky, by the way, if I end up holding that Doherty might play at Bournemouth in game week 14, and that's obviously a very attractive fixtures. It's just the way it works out with the fixtures that once Tottenham hit Newcastle, they play Sunday, Wednesday, Saturday, Tuesday. Doherty's definitely playing in there somewhere. That might depend, for example, if we've got the Champions League group wrapped up, for example. There's a few things that could affect that. But my guess would be that Emerson would play Newcastle and Sporting Lisbon. And then there's every chance Doherty plays at Bournemouth before Emerson plays in Marseille. So there's that as well. Maybe not just two. Maybe there's one extra in there for me as well. And as I said previously, if he does perform really well, there'll be a lot of pressure to keep him in the team. He's only going back to March where I kept telling everyone he was shit, right? The reality is he played well, he stayed in the team. That could happen. If he does well in these two, there'll be a real clamour for it amongst the fan base. And there will be a bit of pressure on it. Prajin says, should I start Mitrovic or Pereira? My team's on the screen, mate. That would be my advice. Karim Tommy says, do you think Perisic would start next two? No. Covered this quite near the start, mate. Whitebeard says, hey all, hope you're well, my friend. Karim says, I have Reece and Perisic already. I love that you've got them already, because presumably you weren't buying them new, mate. Big Geek says, hi James, I have 2 free transfers going to this week. Plan to do James to Dunk. I didn't have the money to go James Ward-Prowse to Zaha this week, and KDB to Salah in 12. Sounds reasonable, mate. Is it worth going JWP to Zaha this week, or should I roll the second transfer for flexibility? No, JWP's got West Ham at home, Bournemouth away. I would say, if your worst case scenario is that you end up having to play Ward-Prowse at Bournemouth in midweek, that's not terrible, is it? So, although you would expect Zaha to outscore Ward-Prowse this weekend, I think there's probably, again, there's a little bit more power in probably just letting that go on another week, I think, mate. JWP's anytime, any opposition because of the set pieces, right? I don't think he's playing well at the moment. I will add that. Badman says, what footy team is the hardest firm? What footy team is the hardest firm? I'm going to say Partizan Belgrade. Raghav Sud says, best defender only for game week 12. Already have Sanchez and not sure on Brighton double up. Game week 12 only, Kieran Trippier if you don't have. Straightforward. I'm going to guess maybe you do. You want an alternative one. Okay, I am going to say still Brighton for me. I'm afraid. Excuse me. Luke Curtis says, I was thinking I need to hold James until game week 13 for my wildcard, as I was planning on rolling 2 FT for next week to switch KDB and Jesus. Do I take out James now and take a -4 next week? Yes. John Cale says, hope Madders gets a good night's sleep and doesn't do anything silly before Leeds at home. Static says, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's just Harry. Karan Yadav says, James replacement for next 2 weeks. I'm wildcarding in game week 13. Brighton's reasonable. Doherty's where I've gone, right? So I can't advise anyone somewhere else when I've gone to Doherty, right? Rebel Dongo 1. Hi James, loving the deadline stream tonight. Agreed it's James to go before Trent. Good luck with the game week, bud. I mean, arguably, what can you do there with a -8? If you sell them both and you put 5 million in the bank, what can you do with that? Like, does that allow you Mitrovic to Kane, for example? And if so, I think you should strongly consider it. Adam says, evening James, thoughts on Stansfield for Solanke for -4. Gives me 11 playing for game week 12. Cheers, have a great weekend. Is that question aimed at me? I presume you mean the young forward Stansfield at Fulham. I mean, Carlos Vinicius will play for Fulham, mate. So, didn't he go on loan somewhere anyway? I'm sure he went on loan somewhere. Nah? I feel certain he went on loan somewhere. I'm sure I'll get corrected if I'm wrong. I'm 99% certain he went on loan somewhere, so that ain't going to give you shit for midweek, mate. I presume that's a wind-up. Ashish says, Gay or Nico Williams? Gay. FDFH says, will Perisic start? Let me just phone Antonio Conte and ask him, mate. My opinion is yes. I'm about 70% is sure. Woody88 says, Shamaka for Tony Saturday. Good idea. Sky FF. Definitely not on Saturday. Maybe Sunday. Don't hate it. But we discussed this one on Wednesday about probably waiting till the night that West Ham play Bournemouth for that exact move. We literally discussed that exact move on Wednesday's podcast, so I'd recommend having a listen back. Philip Michael Music says, play Mitrovic or Andreas. My team's on screen. I think I've already explained. Thanks for your question. Maris Stoica says, cheers, James. Would you do Mitrovic to Kane with one transfer or roll and reassess next week? If I get from Mitrovic to Harry, I'd do it. Like, I'm not wedded to keeping Mitrovic. There's nothing else I like there that I think is justifiable for a -4 right now without additional information. So if he's out in midweek, I'd take a -4 and bin him. I won't hesitate to do different. Right now, without the information, I don't think it's worth it. If I get rid of him for free, go. You'd go, yeah. Maddie and Ape Cook says, love the content. Play Pope or Ward this week. I mean, I've gone Pope, mate, and I've not thought about doing any different, to be totally honest. I wouldn't expect much from either. Yaya South London football team says Trossard and Rodrigo or KDB and Andreas. Because of who you support, I feel like stitching you up and giving you the wrong answer, and you're never actually going to know if I'm telling the truth now or not, are you? Should I deadpan it? KDB and Andreas. But am I telling the truth? Yes, I'm not convinced that Rodrigo will start for Leeds, as I mentioned earlier on the stream. Mohamed Parvez says, hi James, hope you're well. Trippier or Mitrovic, whom to play in 11? My goalkeeper is Pope. Wouldn't let that influence things. Close. Again, I'd still think Mitrovic. I'd play him. Be so gutted if he starts. And can he do damage in half hour? And if he doesn't play, that's what the bench is for. FDFH, thank you for joining our stream. Goodbye. Guy Green says, we don't do repeat questions here, mate. My DMs are open on Twitter if you want to have a conversation about it. Good luck. Have a great weekend. Guy Green says, hello, James. What's your opinion on Sessegnon, and would you do Barnes or Maddison to Zaha? Nah, leave it be. Opinion on Sessegnon as an asset, I'm going to guess you're asking. I think there's every chance he might not start tomorrow. I wouldn't be buying Ryan Sessegnon right now. Never crossed my mind, because as I said, I think Perisic probably starts tomorrow. But Sessegnon is first choice at the moment, and probably not for the fixtures you want it for. Monkey Ben says, Gomez or Konate? I think Konate, because we don't really know how long Trent is out, to be sure, at the moment. So Konate. Not that we know on massive either, but there's a chance Konate could become first choice in any case. Craig Gardner, not that one, says, very short term as wildcard game week 13. Is it worth using free transfer on James to Doherty, have Williams bench this week, and then a -8 next week to ship out 2 of 5 Man City Arsenal? Salah likely transferring to captain. I would say -4 in midweek and just go with 10 players, mate. Alan McNamara says, and Doherty, yes, I've covered it enough. Alan McNamara says, play Tony or Solanke. Don't bench Ivan Tony, mate. That's my call. Rebel Dongo 1 says, how do James? Hope you're good. Do you agree James is a sell before Trent? Good luck with the doc. Sell either. My border Terry is loving the sound of your little boy in the background. Good, I'm pleased to hear it. Again, as I said to someone else earlier, I'd been both. Get it done, I think. James Hurd says, finally catch a stream in the same time zone. Love the soundtrack to this pod. Hope the family well. Good luck all. Cheers, James. Matt Martin says, mount a good differential as a Diaz replacement. Don't mind. Stats good since Potter took over. I think he's maybe one of only 2 players to start every game under Potter so far. But then that means it's probably due a rest. Gornichwa says, isn't Konate injured? I don't think he's available now as far as I know. Monkey D Ben has told someone else, my DM's are open, mate, but we don't have repeat questions here. Sorry, mate. Geo Lux says, hi, James. Do you prefer Andreas Pereira or Daka to start this week? Daka looks to be playing in starting spot, but not sure yet. Look, I'd look at the next three and say, look, Palace at home, Leeds at home, Wolves away. Can you really see Vardy starting none of them? I think that's the question you have to ask yourself, isn't it? Do you think Jamie Vardy starts none of them? And if the answer is no, I don't think he does. Crack on, get Daka. He probably is first choice at the moment, but nah. If I had Daka, I'd start him. Which is actually what you'd asked. I just chose to ignore it. Sorry. So sorry. I just went on a complete tangent. I would start Daka over Pereira this week. Yes. JRD8526 is Barnes a good pump for next 2 or 3? Yeah, reasonable. Don't mind that. Jack Walker, Dan Moss, and a few others. I'm obviously catching up with the chat here. Christian says, hit like for Harry. This will be the real Harry's first hat trick. Cheers, guys. Ben Edison, good lad. Like for Harry's manners. Dan Moss says, good look, James. Watching from Portugal today. Bought docking for James. Play it your way. Exactly. Play it your way. J Jar says, would you start Trippier over Robertson? Ooh, yes, I would. No. God, that's tough. Brilliant question. Whoa. Leave Andy Robertson out. I can't believe I even just contemplated that. Wow. That's a good one. I like that. I think I play Robertson. But, you know, factoring what type of manager you are you concerned you should just dribble down yourself, mate? It happens. It's okay. You've definitely done worse to yourself. What's a donut? What's the question? Oh, yeah, Robertson over Trippier. The ownership Trippier. Is that going to bother you if he goes off? Robertson's obviously differential. Close. I wouldn't expect anything from either, right? Can I advise, when I'm saying I think City go and win 4-2, can I advise to play Robertson? Probably not. So stick with Trips. And also Robertson isn't certain to start. I'm pretty sure he will. Jack Walker, Doc better than Royal. The latter is Pony. Yeah, but Doherty's useless defensively, right? But we only focus on the offensive stuff, don't we? Whitebeard says, cheers, mate. Enjoy the weekend. You too. GP says, FPL General said it on his pod this week that Conte had said last week, if I want to win a game, I don't start Doherty. Surely that isn't what he said. No, that's not what he said. But I'm fairly certain you're misquoting Mark there. As in, if anyone doesn't know, FPL General is Mark. What Conte said is that he didn't want to bring him on and that he wasn't stupid and he wants to win football matches. So he might have said it in a roundabout way, but he didn't exactly say that. And clearly it's not a problem. And I can assure you the hug that Conte and Doherty give each other after the win at Brighton, I know because I was there, there's no issue there. Mohamed Parvez says, and Doherty really respects Conte, by the way. You just know, Conte, we've spoken about it, he just has his little tantrums and stuff happens, right? You just, whatever. Mohamed Parvez says, hi James, hope you will. Trippier, Mitrovic, whom to play. Mohamed, I can't just be getting rid of other people for the same reasons as not yourself. Good luck, mate. My DMs are open, but yeah, we don't do repeat questions here, mate. Thanks very much. Jack Walker saying, Stansfield to Exeter. Thank you. I know. Yes, that's right. Ben Miller says, hi, James and Harry. Happy Friday. And to you too, mate. Opal as well. Joe Davis, year under 6 says, or U6 says, Cancelo and Bailey to Webster and Martinelli if I can easily get Cancelo back for game week 13. Can you? That's all I'd say. On the face of it, I don't mind that, particularly if you haven't got the value built up in Cancelo. But he would be absolutely the priority to get back for me. And I know his underlying numbers ain't been great this year, yada, 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 but it's the capability. It's always the capability. Joey says, hey, James and Harry, love the content. Wildcard in this week. Thoughts on Kane and Haaland as 2 premiums until the World Cup? Yeah, reasonable. I think it's also very reasonable. We'll probably discuss it this week about just having 1 premium. And potentially having a midfield that's like Maddison, Bowen, Foden, Saka, Martinelli, all those kind of values. And you can still have like Haaland, Jesus and Tony or Mitrovic and still have Trippier, Cancelo and someone else. Honestly, you can still have all that. So, and there's a case for that once you wildcard in 13. You're not going to oppose Haaland for the captaincy, so it's something to consider. Well, I say you're not. Most people are not. Addy Tour Exit scored 3 goals wearing the same shirt as his dad, Adam, after he retired his shirt after his death. Oh, didn't know that, mate. Jude says Mitrovic to Kane for 4-point hit. I'm going to say yes. Luke Galway, play Edison or Sanchez? I'd play Edison, mate. Man City defensive, just play it. Ali Boskurt says Mitrovic for Darwin or Jota for -4. Not keen. But if I had to choose one of the two, it'd be Nunes. Ali says I done Doherty and Trossard for Reece James and Diaz, had 2 free transfers. Luke Curtis says cheers James, great content, loving both streams today. James out for Dyer, done, good luck. Discord in my head says start Mitrovic or Andreas. My team's on the screen, mate. There's a good clue there. Owen Jones says James, I'm on Doherty Kappa. Am I a madman? You a madman? I love it though. Vishal says start Solanke or Mitchell. We did this earlier. Probably Solanke, unfortunately, but yeah. Ali says thoughts on Son captain. Spurs likely to play 3-5-2. Son up front could be cheeky one. I think Richarlison will start tomorrow, mate. So I think it's 3-4-3. But I don't think that's bad. He's probably in direct competition against Seamus Coleman. And that's all right. If Everton lose the ball in transition as badly as they did against Manchester United, Son can do very well, irrespective of what formation we play. Lois says, so have you, I bet. I don't know what to. It's probably spilt stuff on myself, I'm going to guess. Yaya Arsenal says, sorry, could not hear your answer. You mean the one where I stared down the barrel with the camera and said Andreas and KDB? I actually remembered what I said for your particular question. Alex Richards says, what do you think about Darwin? Exceptional movement, genuinely exceptional movement. Looks an absolute handful. Some of the understanding of his teammates is not there yet. And I think technically he has work to do to be top level. But a scary prospect. He'll frighten teams. Woody88 says, good advice on Schumacher, but I probably will go for the punt Sunday as it free up cash for further transfer for week 13. That's fine, mate. If that works for you, you crack on, mate. Adam is tagging Addy. Thank you very much, Addy and Adam. GP says, I don't think I'm misquoting Mark on Conte and Dotti, but we'll have to listen back and check now. Wasn't mean to dig out general. He's one of the best, like your good self. No problems, mate. Just have to be careful that I'm reading out and people say, oh, Mark said that. That's all. So it wasn't a dig back at yourself either, my friend. He didn't say exactly that, but it was more like an insinuation that that's what he meant. Mark's not wrong either, by the way. Away Safdar says, what's your current rank, mate? Mine's, I don't really care what your rank is, mate. I don't really care what mine is. Well done, Oace. 146k is very good at the moment. My rank is, I tweeted it. Someone looked at my tweet. 300k, just over, I think. As in, like 303k or something. Tex Villa says, Owen Jones, don't worry, you're not mad. Good luck. Nothing's mad in this game. No, I like it, mate. You go for it, Owen. Gio says, thanks. And yes, I already had Daka now locked in. Good luck. I don't feel like that's a terrible recommendation, but okay. Ben Edinson says, deadline done. Cheers, mate. Have a good game week. Oh, fuck. It went ages ago. Slaughter PFK. Oscar says, hello. Hello, Oscar. Lewis says, yep, that's it. Andrew Jarvis, favourite Tottenham shirt, the Premier League era. I hope you're well, mate. Navy blue, Adidas, away kit of 2000, 2001, and we never actually wanted it. If you came from the FPL, thanks very much. Smash a like, hit the subscribe button, jog on. If anyone's got any non-FPL questions, fire them into the chat now. I'm happy to cover them off for the next 10 minutes or so. Sorry, I completely missed that the time had gone. I'm not going to stay for too long today because I've got the little man to myself. But yeah, fire in any non-FPL questions. Next week, 2 Clash of the Correspondents for you, Tuesday, and we'll have this out in the morning for you. Newcastle versus Everton. With Sean Bibby, that's completely the wrong person. Simon Bibby and Sean Norton previewing Newcastle and Everton on Tuesday. We'll also have Clash of Correspondence on Thursday. That's Manchester City versus Brighton before Game Week 13 with Johnny Pringle and Sam Murray. Please note that the audio for that won't be out till around about 6 p.m. and the YouTube premiere probably won't be till after the Thursday night game, so probably not till about 10 o'clock. That's because I'm recording it with Johnny and Sam as soon as I get back from Manchester, because I'm going to Manchester United to support my football team on Wednesday night. And we've got full Game Week review podcast Monday and Friday Sky Fantasy Football on Wednesday. Deadline stream Tuesday is at 5 o'clock. No, it is a 6 p.m. UK deadline this Tuesday. Deadline stream 5 p.m. this Tuesday, and this deadline stream also, I'm gonna guess it's got to be Saturday, isn't it? There's an early kickoff next week. There must be an early kickoff next week. I'm gonna assume 10 a.m. next Saturday. Also, if you'd like to support the content, www.patreon.com/planetfpl. You can join our Slack community with 600 plus patrons for as little as £3 a month. If you want more content, we've got additional podcasts from intermediate tier every weekday. That'll be a Q&A Monday. That'll be game week previews Tuesday and Friday next week. We've got a quiz on Thursday, which one of our patrons, Dan, is submitting. And Wednesday we'll have Tottenham, and the last two Tottenham podcasts, if I do say so myself, have been absolutely fucking brilliant in my opinion. We'd love to have you join us. There is an additional advanced tier video content Monday to Friday next week as well, which will include 2 additional streams for those guys on Tuesday and Friday with all the team news and predicted lineups ahead of the Game Week 12, Game Week 13 deadlines. There'll also be additionals this week, including some chip talk videos on a potential Game Week 12 free hit and a Game Week 13 wild card. Don't remember, this one's free. You can have this one for free. We love you just the same. But yeah, if you'd like to support our content, give a little something back, we'd love to have you join our community. www.patreon.com/planetfpl and search for that sales pitch. I want a pay rise. Amark says, hey mate, non-FPL question. Who are the most under the radar up and coming free players in your opinion? In the league, the first name that's come into my head is Michael Elise. I think he's got huge talent, which we haven't really seen properly in the Premier League yet. I think he's got it. He's got it physically, he's got it technically, he's got it mentally. And I don't think you often see all those things in a young player, and I've seen it in him quite quickly. I put Eze ahead of that because I think we already know Eze's attributes. I think there'll be some people watching this stream who have not seen Michael Elise play football. And that's not to say he's the finished article or anything. I just think he's got a level up in terms of way to go. I think Harvey Elliott at Liverpool, probably many of you have probably seen more of. I think it's a super little potential talent. And we've seen a little bit of him this season. Romeo Lavia at Southampton. So there's 3 very different players for you for different reasons, I think, who have just come into my head. And I'm not saying they're the best 3, but I'm going to mention them 3. Liam H says, dream car if money were no object. Whichever one the butler's driving makes, can't bother to drive. Atul Balaji says, Morgan Gibbs-White go off the bum locked in. You heard it here first. Atul is a Wolves fan and was part of our Wolves Slack takeover yesterday for our podcast with Bradley Parker and FPL Failure. What a splendid job you did, mate. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Ben Eddington says, do you agree with the narrative that Leicester are too good to go down or have too many good players too? Now, I've seen better teams than Leicester go down. I mean, defensively, they've made the worst start of any defensively. That may have changed after the Forest, but certainly before the Forest game, it was the worst start of any defensive team in terms of goals conceded in Premier League history. You ain't too good to go down when you're in that state. Leicester and Wolves are both in trouble for very different reasons at the moment, but they both have the capability of getting out of it. That's certainly true. Like, do I think Leicester get relegated? No, I don't think Wolves will either. But the idea that they're too good to go down, you can't be too good to go down when you have to score 3 goals every game to win a football match. It's going to catch up with you eventually, and it's catching up with them now. Greg Simpson says, hi James and Harry, what were your thoughts on the atmosphere on Wednesday at Spurs? I thought it was okay, but seen a lot of people saying it was horrific. I don't know about horrific. I think the way the game manifested was challenging for many. I think the ticket pricing hasn't helped. Like, my ticket on Wednesday was £72. I'm not complaining about that ticket price because it could have been £172. Still probably would have found a way to pay it. But that puts off a lot of the, let's say, the right type of punter, I think. Games on telly, it's 8 o'clock. Getting away from Tottenham's difficult. They priced the game badly, really badly. All 3 Champions League group games have priced badly. The atmosphere was fine going into half-time. The atmosphere was fine to start the second half. Then everybody stopped. Players, manager, fans, everybody stopped because the game was finished and it was over. And it really was, and we nearly blew it. So, but it was understandable because I think that you save legs for Everton on Saturday. It's understandable. So yeah, look, the work in the new stadium still needs a lot of work. There's no doubt about it. But when the home end goes, it really goes. And I think many of you have witnessed in the new stadium some very good atmospheres at Tottenham already. The Champions League quarter-final against Man City. And I quote Gary Neville, the mental abusing of Arsenal back in May. So we know the atmosphere can be there. Tottenham have got the pricing badly wrong, and they've been told by supporters trust and stuff that the pricing was wrong, and it wasn't full. Close to full, but not full. And that psychologically, I think, has an impact when you can see empty seats in a football stadium as well. So, yeah, not the best. I've experienced plenty worse, by the way. GP says, thanks, James. Great stream. Absolute golden, at times hilarious. Good luck this weekend. Cheers, mate. You too. Lewis Connolly, do you think Liverpool will sign Bellingham? Yes. Yes, I do. Unless it becomes too much money. Then that might be a problem. Shifo says, there is a bracket in the wildcard draw which will see one of England, Belgium, France, Portugal in the final. I think these teams are on top form. Who would make the final? Portugal v Argentina. What's going on here, Shifo, mate? What have you done to me here, pal? Right, there's no guarantee that England, Belgium, France, or Portugal are getting to a World Cup final, mate. Because you could have looked at a bracket before the last World Cup and you'd have gone, yeah, Spain's in that bracket, Germany's in that bracket, and shit changed, right? So, don't worry about that, mate. I think Portugal do have the capabilities to do very, very well. If you're asking me what I'm predicting the World Cup final to be right now, I am going to say England versus Wales. That's possible, isn't it? No, I still think France will be the favourites for me. I haven't looked in detail in terms of how they would avoid the likes of Spain, Portugal on that, to be totally honest, Shifo. I certainly will do before we start podding on it properly. I'll know it inside out. I think France will win it. But I do think, if you'd asked me a year ago, I said, it's quite a closed shop tournament. I do think it's very open. Like, I think a nation like Switzerland or Serbia, I mentioned them when we did the England squad pod a few weeks back. I think they're whichever one of them comes out of Brazil's group could surprise. I'm not saying to go and win the tournament, but I think it's not impossible that a nation like that will get to a semi or a final. It's so unpredictable this year. The timing of the year, no one's ever experienced it before. Yogesh says, do you like traditional, authentic India butter chicken with naan bread? Amazing, mate. I mean, I don't have any idea what's going on. Chris Jargo says, is Mbappe getting too big for his boots? Yeah, probably, mate. It's a bit of a prick, isn't he? Great footballer. Ajay Rimmel wanted to tell me that it was a Focal raid 3 times over. Love Focal, mate. He's brilliant. Richard J says, evening, James. You okay, mate? Did you hurt yourself? What's the matter? What happened? What did you hurt? Was it your thumb? Thumb? What do you want me to do? Kiss it better?
Kiss it.
Okay, kiss it. Say hello. Hello. Look, do you want to see yourself on the telly?
I don't.
Come on. Hello. Hey. Say hello.
Bye.
Bye. Will Bill, don't press nothing. Which team has been the biggest underachiever so far this season? Liverpool. Maris Stoica, hey James and Harry, 2 non-FPL. Do you think Man United will give Ten Hag more than this season if he gets nothing? And second, where can I buy a vintage Spurs shirt? Should give the man a raise. Yes, I do think United can finish 6th this year, and as long as you can see the progression of what they're doing on the pitch, no problem. Google, eBay, loads of places. Spurs do sell a couple of retro ones in the club shop as well, to be honest. AJ's telling me again, Oscar says hello. Thanks for this. Yeah, tell him I said hello back, mate. Addy Tour says, is Casemiro an option in Sky or wait and see? Yeah, he is. I mean, I think he's in the team and his performance against Everton, he's in. Would I rush for it? No. It's a luxury move, and there's someone you want to get rid of, I don't mind it. But wouldn't be top of my agenda for me personally. Ben Edison says, who's the most outlandish FPL punt you have made that worked out? The most outlandish FPL punt I've made that worked. I mean, I don't really remember these things. My brain's like an encyclopedia sponge for football. It's not for. I couldn't even tell you it was in my Gameweek 1 team, half of them now. I've had a wild card since then. Mad punt. Literally, I can't think of shit. That Matt Lowton 14-pointer a couple of years ago was quite funny. So I'm going to say that. And I benched him and got him off the bench as well. So I'm going to say that Matt Lowton was like a 14-pointer or something. What no graphics? Hello, James. Did you ever fancy Dana Scully? Didn't everybody? I'll tell you an even truer story to that, right? About Dana Scully, Gillian Anderson. Gillian Anderson went to the same primary school as me. No, not at the same time, because despite the fact that she still probably looks younger than me, she's significantly older. But yeah, Dana Scully went to Coleridge Primary School. It was the same primary school that I went to. Every day's a school day. JP says, what's you cooking for dinner? Take away, mate. Jedi Stew says, Oscar says hi. I mean, great. Cheers, guys. I love it. Liam H says, best stadium outside of the Premier League Championship in English football. Christ, if I can remember who's in League One at the moment. Gonna say of the Portman Road. Seems reasonable, I think, to say that. I think that's okay. Greg Simpson, I'm hoping to see a few better atmospheres. The only one I went to previously was Brighton back in April. As at Spurs, you have 12:30. It was awful. But the game can have that impact as well. That was a terrible game from Tottenham's perspective, so that has an impact as well. Luke Curtis says, is Trippier now England's best fit right back? He is at the moment. Come on the team, we're going to smash Man United. John Cahill says, how would you rank Wilson, Tony, Bamford, DCL and Ings when all fit? I think Wilson is England's second best number 9. Nah, I'd have Tony over all of them. Yeah. Tony over all of them, to be honest. There's a name that you haven't put in there, by the way, who I would, if England have a problem with Tony and Abraham, who I would still consider. I would consider taking Danny Welbeck, honestly. I think he runs the channels and would bring his teammates into play so well. And he wouldn't start. You can also stick him as a wide forward later in games. You know, work his socks for you. He's aggressive, he's got pace, he's intelligent. I think that if Gareth Southgate decided that he was going to take Danny Welbeck, I wouldn't have a problem with that. He ain't going to play much anyway. You're not going to replicate Kane's goals or anything like that. From the list you've got there, Tony. John Shanley says, James Doherty, wish me luck. Good luck. You didn't wish me luck though, did you, John? I know, it's okay. Christian says, how many kids you have? One that I'm aware of, and he's right in front of me. Yogesh says, definitely not had any other ones for a long time. Yogesh Rapani says he's a sweetie, bless the little man. Ben Eddington says, I take it Harry gets the Barnet from his mum. Definitely doesn't get it from his dad, does he? As Jedi Stew has pointed out. TW says, Mitrovic to McAllister save up 0.3 for Maddison to Bowen for captaincy versus Bournemouth later on. If so, Captain Rayo and McAllister, thanks. That's a Sky question. Okay, I'm glad now I'll read it again like I care. Mitrovic to McAllister to save up 0.3 million for Maddison to Bowen for captaincy versus Bournemouth later on. If so, Captain Rayo or McAllister. I think I'd Captain McAllister. Passing numbers should be there tonight, and he's on the pens. So I think I'd Captain McAllister. TW, McAllister and Webster 7.4. Which one? It's close. Like, I can't consider McAllister, so I'm already 5 in midfield. I'm gonna say Webster. I think there's clean sheets in what's left. JP says, what's your takeaway tonight? Fish and chips, I think, is probably on the agenda. Glenn Murray says, in your opinion, best Brighton asset till overhauling Sky? Dunk. But I do think Webster, if you need to save the money. I think McAllister, very viable alternatives. Casado may even come back on the radar, but as I said, the passing numbers against Tottenham could be an anomaly. JP says, you and Sud should do... No, we're not doing that, mate. John says, good luck, mate. JP says, are you guys doing Movember? Yeah, Suj is. I'm not, because I can't afford a razor. He doesn't pay me enough. And Keith Rowley says, 1 clean sheet this game week. Not sure what the panic of defenders getting in. I've got 2 predicted, as you can see on screen. There you go. He's corrected himself. Rich T says, thanks for the double stream today. Have a great weekend. You're very, very welcome, guys. Enjoy your weekend. Me and Suj will be back on Monday. Enjoy Brentford and Brighton tonight. If you can give us support on Patreon, www.patreon.com/planetfpl. We'd love to have you with us. There are surprises coming up soon for patrons. They know. They don't yet know, but they do know because they know what I'm like. But we've got some good stuff planned for during the World Cup as well. Smash a like, hit the sub button. Have a great weekend, everyone. Ciao for now. Yogesh, my favourite ice cream is whatever one my son has so I can nick it off him. Bye-bye.
Stop! What? Run, 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 run.